This is a photo of a 20-year-old student, Danuta Perednya. The young lady studied at Mogilov University. On February 27th, she posted an anti-war message in the university's chat room calling for protests against the war in Ukraine. Lukashenko's regime sentenced her under several articles for insulting the president of Belarus and for calls to harm national security. On June 10th, the Belarusian KGB, Committee for State Security, put her on the terrorist list. Danuta Perednya was sentenced to 6.5 years in prison, according to the Vesna Human Rights Center. Back in early March, Belarusian authorities began to arrest the so-called rail partisans. Since February 26th, they have been daily sabotaging the railway in the Gomel, Brest and Vitebsk regions. Hundreds of suspects underwent mass searches. More than 60 people ended up in a pre-trial detention center, Novaya Gazeta Europe reports. So far, only one case has reached the court against Dmitry Ravich, Denis Dekun and Oleg Molchanov. They may face the death penalty. They are suspected for setting fire to a cabinet for railway automation. All three are charged with several counts, including for actions that threaten national security and for betrayal of the motherland. Lawyers say the accusations are absurd.
Deputies of the National Assembly have significantly expanded the possibilities of applying the death penalty due to the latest changes in the criminal code. However, the investigative committee is in a hurry. The opportunity to kill for anti-war guerrilla attacks on the railway infrastructure, by which people tried to prevent the transfer of Russian military equipment and weapons to Ukraine, which became a victim of aggression, will only appear in relation to acts committed after May 29th. 2022. This is the day the relevant changes come into force. Pavel Sapelko, lawyer for the Vesna Human Rights Center, in an interview with Deutsche Welle.
Through its propaganda machine, the Belarusian authorities are trying to discredit Kalinovsky's regiment. These are Belarusians who are fighting in Ukraine on the side of the armed forces of Ukraine. In April, the state channel ONT published the personal data of 75 volunteers, calling them, quote, Belarusian militants, terrorists, Nazis, and scumbags. The KGB filed cases against all servicemen and said that the war is not eternal and they are expected at home to be imprisoned for at least 7 years. Belarusian singer Miriam Gerasimenko is due to leave the detention facility soon. She was imprisoned for 15 days for performing a song by the Ukrainian band Okean Elzy at a street concert in Minsk. In addition, she transferred money for the armed forces of Ukraine, Miriam's acquaintances told Belarusian journalists. Therefore, they do not rule out that Gerasimenko will be immediately moved to a pre-trial detention center. The Belarusians are the strategic allies of the Ukrainians, and it is they who can help Ukraine win, say the staff of the Belarusian opposition leader Svetlana Tikhanovskaya. But for this, it is necessary to confront Lukashenko, who is helping Putin de facto use Belarus to wage a bloody war.
Our territory is being used, but our troops formally are not. And we believe that the anti-war movement is the answer. Excuses won't do anything. We must act. And if Belarus brought this shame upon itself, being an accomplice, then Belarus is doing everything to stop it. Alexander Dobrovolsky, advisor to Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, in an interview with the Current Time TV channel.
About 10 criminal cases have been initiated in Belarus for photographing Russian military equipment and transferring photos to opposition media, which are recognized as extremist. More than 1,000 people in Belarus were detained for anti-war protests, the Vesna Human Rights Center reports. 32 criminal cases were opened against participants in anti-war demonstrations. According to Vesna, the number of detainees could be much higher, since many court hearings were held behind the scenes in Belarus. Reported by Marina Stepanenko, Julia Bezborodko, UATV News.